Hi everyone, welcome back to another YouTube video. Today we are going to be looking at sentence structure questions. Now, as per usual, the purpose of this video is to go through what sentence structure questions are testing you on, what skill set you need to utilise to do that, how they might look in an exam paper, the formula to answer the questions, an answer scaffold, a model example, and 3 questions for you to attempt on your own. So, when we talk about sentence structure questions, we really are looking at how the sentence is put together rather than what is said in the sentence. So, it really refers to when a writer tries to emphasize certain words or ideas through the way that the sentence is set out. So, for example, short sentences, use of colons, lists, etc. This question usually asks you to identify unusual sentence structure features or explain which words or ideas are emphasized because of them, and connect them with what is being emphasized to the question that you're being asked. So that's kind of the two approaches that this question type can take. So when it comes to looking at sentence structure, there are a variety of features that you need to be able to know about to be able to answer this question. So we're going to run through those just now. So the first one is short sentences. Now, these are designed to draw our attention to and emphasize the words or ideas that are in them. Conversely, long sentences often build up to a climax, drawing our attention to and emphasizing what is at the end of the sentence, which is therefore what is emphasized. Varied sentence length is used to add emphasis to ideas, usually in the short sentences. For example, if you have a few long sentences, then all of a sudden there's a short, snappy sentence. You pay attention to the words or ideas that are in the shorter sentence rather than those longer ones. Alongside all of that comes lists, which often draw attention to what is actually listed, often to emphasize how much of something there is. You can also have colons, which often create a pause for emphasis, drawing our attention to what follows immediately after the colon. They are also used to divide sentences into 2 equal parts, allowing us to compare or contrast different ideas or qualities mentioned in each half. Brackets or dashes are used to separate something from the rest of the sentence, thus emphasising what is in the parenthesis. So, for example, additional information, change of tone, important ideas. And the use of exclamation marks emphasises how passionately a writer feels about something. You can also sometimes see a writer use a series of questions, which might actually emphasise confusion. The use of questions that directly involve the reader can help emphasise the ideas in the question, as we pay more attention to them due to an increased sense of involvement. Look out for rhetorical questions which are used to make a point and do not need an answer. You can also have repetition, which is obviously when a word is repeated often. So any word or phrases automatically stand out from that, therefore emphasising certain ideas. And last but not least, word order. Now, this can be one of the tricky ones. So another name for word order is syntax. So look out in particular for a technique called inversion, which takes what would usually be at the end of a sentence and places it at the start. Basically how Yoda speaks from Star Wars. So for example, horrified I was, or being two-faced with the thing she was best at. We pay attention to the word horrified in the first example and being two-faced in the second. This is mainly due to the fact that they are so clearly placed in a strange position within the sentence. Also, another good example of that is saying like pepper and salt when most people say salt and pepper. Alright, so it just draws your attention to the thing at the beginning. So let's go through the formula for how to answer these questions. So first of all, we're going to state what technique is being used by the author. We're then going to quote from the passage. We're then going to comment on the effect this has on the passage. And then we're going to explain how this helps to clarify the writer's point. So let's go through an example question. That was 1966, and Muhammad Ali seemed not simply the best boxer of the day, but the best boxer who could possibly be imagined. So good that it was an inspiration to even see a picture of him. My body shivered when I saw him as if an electric shock had pulverised my ability to feel. no fighter could touch him. How does the writer use sentence structure in lines 20 to 25 to emphasise how strongly he felt about Ali? It's worth 2 marks. So, automatically you have to start thinking, can I see any of the sentence structure features that I've just previously talked about in this model example? So the first one that jumps out straight away to me is the dash, the so good that it was even an inspiration. This is the first example that jumps out at my brain. The next example would be the really short sentence of no fighter could touch him. So again, this is the other one where I'm like, right, okay, clearly this is something that the writer wants me to pay attention to, because we've had a couple of really long sentences followed by this short one in comparison. So let's go through how I would lay out an answer. So I would start by saying the writer uses a dash, so good that it was an inspiration. I've quoted the dash and the bit that immediately follows. I've then said, shows that a simple image of Muhammad Ali could motivate people. This helps clarify that the writer's point that Muhammad Ali was an incredibly important boxer, as he was so talented that even his image could move people, and that would get me a mark. And now, because it's 2 marks, we're going to have to do another one. So the writer uses a short sentence, no fighter could touch him. This shows that Muhammad Ali was an unbeatable fighter and helps to clarify this by making it an undeniable statement. This highlights the point the writer is making that Muhammad Ali really was the most impressive, unbeatable boxer of that time. So that would get me my 2nd mark. What that would then look like altogether is what you can see on the screen just now. I know it looks like a lot of writing for 2 marks, but doing it this way will ensure that you get those marks every time, as long as your answer is, relevant to the question. So now it is over to you. I've explained how to answer this question type and I've given you an example on how to do it. So it's now your turn to work through the rest of the questions in this video. There will be 3 in total and the answers will appear after each question, so you can self-assess how well you've done with each question. So just pause the video when I tell you to and restart it when you're ready to move on. Question 1. Ahead of us, a woman screams. Panic runs through the line. You can feel it jumping from body to body. There's a surge backward. In a minute, we'll be stampeded, crushed. Then comes the rumour, the whisper. It was only a spider. We're caught anyway. The tunnel's jammed. We can't move. We stand in the dead air, listening to our hearts, and now we know the answer. Explain how the author uses sentence structure to emphasise the way the author feels as people are fleeing along the tunnel. It's worth 2 marks. So pause the video just now, attempt the question, and come back when you're ready to go over the answer. So here is a list of all the potential answers. Ahead of us, a woman screams. Short sentence. This shows that the atmosphere was tense by making it an undeniable fact, highlights the author's initial terror while in the tunnel. Panic runs through the line. You can feel it jumping from body to body. There's a surge backward. List. The writer uses a list to show just how quickly people began to respond by showing the numerous ways people reacted to the situation. Highlights that the author was not alone in her terror. Colon, in a minute we'll be stampeded. The colon is used to introduce what will inevitably happen when people begin to respond in terror to the situation. Highlights the atmosphere of the crowd and the author's dread at what is going to happen next. Comma, crushed. The comma is used to introduce what will inevitably happen when people begin to respond in terror to the situation. Highlights the atmosphere of the crowd and the author's dread at what is going to happen next. We're caught anyway, the tunnel's jammed, we can't move, we stand in the dead air listening to our hearts, and now we know the answer. List. The author uses the list to highlight the number of ways they are trapped in the tunnel. This highlights the feelings of the author as she cannot escape and feels stuck because of the overwhelming amount of difficulties between her and the exit. So any 2 of those would have gotten you full marks. Alright, let's move on to question 2. Question 2. The scientists say that even if the world's governments and industries meet international goals on reducing greenhouse gases, which they probably will not, it still won't be enough to prevent severe changes to the world's weather. Their advice to governments, businesses and private citizens about this is grim. Get used to it. How does the author's sentence structure in this paragraph emphasise her concern about the future. That's worth 2 marks. So pause the video just now, attempt the question and come back when you're ready to go over the answer. Dash, which they probably will not, dash, parenthesis. The extra information added in through the parenthesis highlights the author is worried that governing bodies will not honour their pledges to deal with the climate crisis but instead ignore them. Colon, get used to it, colon. The colon introduces the point to the reader that the people have no choice but to adapt to the changes in the world's climate. This helps to emphasise the author's point that there will not be any advancements that help solve the problem anytime soon, which makes her worried. Their advice to governments, businesses and private citizens list. The list helps to emphasise how many groups of people are impacted by the climate crisis. This helps to convey the author's worry that so many people will have to be concerned about the coming years. Let's move on to question 3. Monotony. There's the perfect word. The monotony of John's day cannot be over-exaggerated. Endless chores were issued to him by his authoritarian father. Work was the norm, play was long forgotten. Feeding the pigs, milking the cows, scrubbing the floor of the barn, repairing the forever crumbling walls, weeding the garden, which surrounded their massive farmhouse, fetching supplies from the market, preparing lunch for the agricultural labourers. That was an exciting day. He hated the sound of his father's voice. He hated the knock on his bedroom door, which announced another torturous day was beginning. He hated the wind, which almost knocked him off his feet as he emerged to face the elements once more. Escape. He needed to get out of there, but where could he go? Explain how the author uses sentence structure to create an impression of how John felt about his life on the farm. It's worth 4 marks. So pause the video just now, come back when you're ready to hear the answers. So this question has a lot of potential answers, so I'm just going to read through them quite quickly. Monotony. Short sentence. The short sentence shows that there can be no doubt as to how boring this task is. This helps to convey that John is adamant that working the land is not enjoyable. Work was the norm, colon, play was long forgotten. The colon introduces the idea that John had no free time to do whatever he wanted. This helps to convey that John's life mainly revolves around the tasks needed to help the land rather than what he wants to do. Feeding the pigs, milking the cows, all the way down to preparing lunch for the agricultural labourers. List. The list highlights just how many tasks John must complete in a single day. This helps to convey that John feels he has too much to do in a single day and is not enough time to do it. Dash, that was an exciting day, exclamation point. Dash an exclamation point. The dash helps to introduce the idea that this day was particularly filled with events. The exclamation point helps to convey the sarcasm within the sentence, as John did not enjoy completing these tasks. This helps to convey that John often has to do things on the farm that he doesn't enjoy but is forced to complete them. He hated. Repetition. The repetition of the phrase he hated helps to highlight the force with which John despised the many elements to do with working the land. It helps to convey that there are too many things that John doesn't like to do on the farm and that he isn't happy being there. Comma, which almost knocked him off his feet, comma, parenthesis. The parenthesis helps to add extra information about how strongly the gale is blowing. This shows that John must face harsh conditions when working the farm, which he strongly dislikes. Escape. Short sentence. The short sentence helps to emphasise that this is the only thing that John is thinking about. This conveys that he feels he must run away from the life on the farm because he is so unhappy. But where would he go? Dash and rhetorical question. The dash helps to introduce the idea that John has no other alternative to working the land. The rhetorical question helps to convey to the reader that this is an idea that John has worked out himself. This conveys that John feels that life on the farm is something he wants to run away from, but at present he has no choice but to continue working the land until he can think of something better. So, well done on making it to the end of the video. If you are looking for further practice, please remember that there are past papers available on the SQA website. You can also search the hashtag N5HRUAE on Twitter to get up-to-date articles from teachers across the country with specific questions tailored to your level. You could also create your own sentence structure questions using articles that you like to read. So once again, well done on making it to the end of the video. If you're looking for further support on RUAE, please check out the playlist that this video is in. Again, thanks for watching. Bye.